many women's transformations, it began with the belly. Early April 2022, I sat on my couch and my belly folded over my jeans. Now I'm practicing body positivity, but at the moment I decided to conduct my highly scientific body composition test. I squeezed my belly between my hands. I know I'm not the only one that does this, right? Okay, so the results came back and I was carrying quite a bit of adipose tissue and maybe a little fluid around my midsection. Now, this meant more to me than just a few too many donuts, because I had seen my friend recently die a slow and painful death due to alcoholism. And I watched as her belly grew and grew as her body began to wither away around it. So my belly triggered a warning light in me, and I began to think about its origin. You see, I was unemployed, unhealthy, drinking too much, and simply not living the life that I knew I was meant to live. But my change began with the belly. My glow up was sparked by that moment. And I'm going to share with you today the 4 phases so that you can begin to have a glow up of your own. Hi, I'm Dr. Adrienne Little, and a mental health clinician, and I'm lucky enough to call Gary, Indiana, my hometown. I have spent the better part of the last 2 decades of my life helping other people in Gary and greater Chicagoland live healthy, productive lives. But my own life was in shambles. In early April 2022, I knew that I needed a change. So I decided to go on a personal transformation journey, a glow up. And I used all of the resources available to me. The Urban Dictionary says that a glow up is a mental, physical, and emotional shift, a personal shift for the better. A glow up can either be planned or natural. Has anyone ever witnessed a true glow up? One that made you gasp and think, maybe I should have given this person a chance way back when. Well, it's too late now. They've changed, and y'all, they know it. The feeling is palpable. Their whole energy has shifted. I decided on 90 days. As a clinician, one form of therapy that I use is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I noticed that I saw a lot of changes happen to people around the 12-week mark. That's technically 84 days, but 90 days sounded like a nice round amount of time to begin to see some changes. So I decided to use my clinical training, information from dozens of books I read, and research from the field of psychology. It was trial and error, but I've distilled it down to 4 phases that you can use today to start to see some changes tomorrow. These phases are visualize, strategize, automate, and celebrate. So what did my glow up look like? Well, I lost 15 pounds. I improved my relationships. I finished my dissertation. I gave up drinking, and I began to squeeze more joy out of each day. You may achieve more or less. It's not about the external. A glow up comes from the inside. Black people, Black women especially, feel lots of pressure to overachieve. We feel a lot of pressure to do and be everything to everyone. So maybe your glow up might be to simplify, to do fewer things, but to do them with more joy. Only you can decide. Question. By a show of hands, how many people see that there is a gap in their life from where they are to where they want to be? See a few hands. All right, to get from where you are to where you want to be, you can follow my journey in its 4 phases. Let's begin with visualize. So what exactly is visualization? Well, I love to read thought leader Bob Doyle, and he says that visualization is the practice of imagining what you want to exist as though it were happening today. A visualization is a way of bringing all the 5 senses to bear, and it also causes you to direct your subconscious to what you really want out of life. So how do you visualize? Well, for me, I get into a positive state of mind, I focus on the breathing, and I relax. And then I step into a 3D vision of what my life is going to look like. So I stepped into a 3D vision of what my life would look like in 90 days. I felt it, I thought about it, and I began to understand it with intensity. So my vision, I don't always just think them. I write them out. My visions always start the same. I am so happy and grateful now that I am. So my vision started, I am so happy and grateful now that I am Dr. Little. I am fit and healthy. I live with joy and abundance, and so on. I went into more detail about what that looked like and felt it with intensity. Don't focus on how things are going to get done. The how is none of your business. That is the business of the universe. Just focus on what you want. So, your old thoughts and your old behaviors led you to the past, but your new vision is a path to your desired future. After you visualize, you strategize. My strategy was all about shifting my mindset about change and also identifying how I wanted to change in each area of my life. In the past, I would start off strong, using motivation and sheer willpower to get things done. But motivation is notoriously unreliable. Many studies suggest that motivation waxes and wanes with little warning. And I am notorious for doing whatever the heck feels good. So, even when the consequences are less than ideal or even painful, and I don't think I'm alone, my strategy became to find the easiest, most joyful path to my glow up. I began rereading some of the books that ignited my passion. I read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I read books like Giant Steps by Tony Robbins and Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. And with each book, my mindset began to shift. I encourage that you all read and listen to podcasts and do things like that to shift your consciousness. I also began to journal and harness the power of relationships and how they help to affect change. I set up my team. My team consisted of a therapist, a coach, accountability partners on Facebook, and also positive people in my life that were encouraging and gave me the strength I needed to continue on my positive journey. Then as I did these things, I began to change how I thought about change. I learned that change can be joyful. I could have stopped right there because I felt different, but I began to realize that who I was becoming did not line up with who I was actually acting like in this present reality. So I began to do a shift so that those two could come into alignment. I wanted a total life transformation. So I decided to borrow from acceptance and commitment therapy. It's an empirically supported treatment developed by Stephen C. Hayes. ACT focuses on 4 life domains and captured exactly what I was looking for. The 4 domains are work and education, leisure, personal growth and health, and relationships. And I developed goals or values in each area. You can steal some of mine. From under work and education, I decided that I valued personal fulfillment, financial success, and also the ability to care for others. Under personal growth and health, which was my main priority, I valued physical fitness, connection, and spirituality. And I went on until I had some values identified for each area of my life. So, I suggest that you do the same. Identify values in each area that you'd like to pursue. Now that you've visualized and strategized about how to joyfully enhance your life, the next phase is automate. For this phase, I turned to the research and decided to harness the power of habits. A habit is a routine or behavior that is repeated and becomes subconscious. Habits have a momentum of their own. When it comes to automating habits that lead to change, think small. Think really small. Deciding on habits takes some thought, but just think about things that take little energy and little effort, but still move you in the direction of your goal. My plan was to do something, anything. I wanted to do something so small that I barely even thought about it, and also to connect the habit to something I already did. To transform, don't make it about the steps. Make it about the reps. Don't make elaborate plans. Just focus on repeating your habit every day. For example, I knew I wanted to finish my dissertation and get my degree. So I automated the habit of sitting at my dining room table every day before lunch and just doing something to move my dissertation forward. Sometimes I would write for 10 minutes. Other times, I would write for hours. But the goal was to just do something every day. I usually tied those habits to either a time of day like that, or to another habit I already had, like making my bed in the morning. This made it much easier. A core component of my journey was giving up alcohol. So I replaced that habit with several mini habits during times I would normally drink. And I suggest you do the same for bad habits that you want to eliminate or completely replace. What this does is builds neural pathways. In a book called The Brain Changes Itself, Michael Merzniak said that a habit practiced under the right conditions can not only change your habit, but it can also change the makeup of the brain. So now, think about something in your own life that you want to change. Perhaps you want to eat more healthy, or make more time for self-care, or perhaps you want to improve your performance at work. Now think about a habit that you could do tomorrow that will move you in that direction. Think about yourself performing that habit. Will you feel a little prouder? Will you stand a little taller? Then stop. That is not the right habit. If what you're doing is going to be so much of a challenge that you want to post it on Facebook or IG, then you're not following the glow up process. The minute this begins, you need to take a step back and think about just automating a simple habit. A simple habit won't feel like a challenge, and you won't have to ask yourself if you feel like doing it. We know motivation is notoriously fickle. So we know how this story ends when we push ourselves too far. For me, it usually ends back where I started, except more defeated than I was when I began. You don't even have to target all of your individual goals. I started with just one or two mini habits in each area of my life, and I suggest you do the same. You want to be just slightly better than what you were doing. Do 5 minutes of exercise or drink 1 glass of water. But the goal is to just do it. The best way to do some mini habits is to engage in a morning routine. Some of the world's most creative and successful people, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, Warren Buffett, all have morning routines. My morning routine was pretty simple, but you can feel free to steal it. I would pray, read a passage from my devotional, journal, and move my body a little bit. That's it. If I did those things, then I called my day successful. So, once you've visualized, strategized, and automated, you might think this is when I tell you to really ramp up, to really go ham. But I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm not going to tell you to go from eating 1 veggie to living off kale smoothies. I'm going to tell you to enjoy, sis. The final phase is celebrate. Keep your automated routines and relish how you begin to improve your reputation with yourself. Brag to your team. Take yourself out on dates. Around this time, I began to feel a little bit more confident. I got a little more pep in my step. And around this time, you might be feeling the same. Your mood might improve. For me, this happened around day 60. And also, this is when my mini habits really started to get a momentum of their own. Like me, when you pray, maybe you'll feel more spiritually fit and start to return back to church. Or maybe if you use your planner, you'll start to have more efficient and organized days. Well, these habits, these extras, these bonuses, just kind of fell in my lap. So, the more I celebrated, the more I took joyful action as the Spirit moved me. So, that's it. Notice I said the glow up has 4 phases, not steps. Once you've hit each phase, you can choose to visualize, strategize, automate, or celebrate at any time. By day 90, I was more fit, happier, had painlessly given up alcohol, and had realized my dream of being trained as a psychologist. And I have a routine that keeps it all going relatively easily. So I would be lying if I said I'd maintained each and every one of the routines that I'd eventually established. However, most of my routines have remained unchanged. But I've changed. I've grown. I'm a lot happier. I finally love myself again. So, where will you start? I encourage you to begin with that bold, juicy vision of what your life can be like in 90 days if you just begin to take action tomorrow. Mine began with the belly. Where will yours begin?